Talk more about China's fight against drugs as Mike Vigil, former chief of international operations for the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. He's also a contributor to the Cipher Brief, a website devoted to security issues. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Tell us more about these psychoactive substances. What do they do to a person, and just how dangerous are they?
Well, the thing is that psychoactive substances include everything from methamphetamine to cocaine. What psychoactive drugs do is they affect the central nervous system. And as a result of that, it impacts behavior, perception. So it includes a multitude of drugs, not only opioids.
Are they a new trend in terms of synthetic drugs? I know that they've been around for a while, but why are they so popular?
Well, these type of drugs, and we're talking about opioids, are very popular because they're very powerful. For example, the drug that was recently banned by the Chinese government, which is U-47700, is 7.5 times stronger than heroin. And it's a lot cheaper. And China has a lot of people that have online mailing businesses where they can mail the drugs to you, and you can get a kilo of U-47700 for less than $10,000.
So you said cheap, that is the driver for a lot of these type of drugs. How bad is the situation in the United States?
The situation is extremely bad. It's probably the worst drug epidemic that we've ever suffered in the history of this country. For example, in 2015, we lost between 59,000 and 63,000 people to drug overdose deaths. Most of those were from opioids. But it's not only the drugs coming from China, but most of it is being caused by prescription opioids. You know, over prescriptions. And for example, in 2015, there were about 250 million prescriptions that were given. That's enough for every adult male in the United States to have a bottle of opioids in their medicine cabinet. It's a $24 billion industry per year, and we have lost more people every year to opioids than we have lost to in the Vietnam War.
So what do you make of this cooperation between the United States and China when it comes to drug trafficking and fighting drugs?
In terms of fighting drugs, you know, we need international cooperation simply because, you know, China, you know, is producing synthetic drugs, but they also have a drug abuse problem. You know, we have similar situations in Europe, and unless we work together, unless we share information, we're not going to have the needed impact that we need to curb this epidemic. And I want to compliment the Chinese government for their efforts because they've already controlled at least 116 opioids and their analogs. The big problem that we're having is that these factories, underground factories in China, every time that the Chinese authorities ban some of these substances, they change the molecular structure, which means that China then has to move forward to control those substances, and sometimes it takes anywhere from 8 months to a year.
But isn't it also stopping the issue at the source? You know, we see a lot of accusations flying back and forth between Mexico, South America, and the United States saying, hey, the United States is the one driving the demand.
That's correct. And Elaine, unless we curb the demand here in the United States, you know, it's the balloon effect. If it's not China, if it's not Mexico, if it's not South America, it's going to be another country. So we need to move very diligently here and work to educate our kids at a very young age. But it's not only law enforcement. It deals with the parents, it deals with the schools, the religious institutions, and everybody plays a role in the educational process in terms of prevention.
All right, Mike Vigil, we appreciate your insight. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Elaine.